So it's October, getting to be Halloween. I don't know how it was for you as a kid, but for someone growing up in the 50s, as I did, Halloween was the best night of the year. My friends and I down there in the Bay Area, we did terrible, terrible things, things I won't even admit to now. And I never had a Halloween that I didn't have a great time.
Things like vandalism or worse?
Extreme vandalism. An example is spreading Limburger cheese on the leather seats of luxury vehicles. So they would have to be destroyed afterwards. You couldn't get the smell out. Terrible juvenile delinquents. It was great that we had all that freedom, but if my old man had any idea the shit I did. So anyway, the sad thing, in a way, is my most memorable Halloween experience came like in, I think it was 1969. I was living in Longview. I was just about to drop out of school again. I was living in the Evergreen State Alcohol Recovery Foundation had this old poorhouse that they were turning into an alky recovery center. And I lived there, and the only thing prerequisite was I had to go to AA meetings. So I'm getting ready to get shit-faced again. You know, you can always tell. And so my sponsor was a guy named Ralph X, and he'd lost his teaching job and everything as a shit-facer. So we were in his Renault going over the bridge to Rainier, Oregon. A couple, fat losers, chain smoking cigarettes, drinking Coca-Cola for the caffeine. And, it's one of those times I looked at him and I looked at me and I said, well, sobriety didn't set well with me. It never has. The first time I got drunk, I thought, I've been doing it all wrong. So again, shit-faced felt right to me. Sobriety was a nightmare. But I'm trying to hang in there. So we go to this Alky Halloween party. Different counties got together. All the Alkies got together in a barn. And there were probably 150 people in there. And there's some families, the kids who've been raised by this drunk. And again, I'm the only young guy, except for people's kids. And everybody's coming up and, congratulating me on trying to get straight at my age. And I always felt like an imposter because they were trying to quit alcohol. I was trying to keep drinking without getting the DTs. So I'm there for about a half hour and I thought, fuck this shit. I'd been sober for a few months. So I walked a couple miles in the rain up to a grocery store, got a gallon of Chablis Blanc, Gallo, and I found
wine.
I found this shack with an overhang, and I sat there in the dark drinking it. And it wasn't sad, it was great. It was so great to get shit-faced again. So I drank at least half the gallon, and then I left it there for the next guy. And I walked back to the party. Now, all their hopes are on me as a young person in the brave new world where people are going to confront their alcoholism. And I was just going to go into Ralph's Renault and sit there till it was over. But then I got there and I thought, well, shit, I fooled people before. I've carried on conversations with people when I've had the DTs. You just put that dead sailor look on and you go on. But I kind of snuck through a side door. This is terrible. I snuck through a side door, and it's a barn, and I'm kind of standing in the back in the shadows, and there's poles going up, and everybody's in front, and different alkies are getting their little poker chips or what, sober a month, sober 2 years, whatever that was, and they go up there and they talk. And I'm standing back there and I realized I should have taken another piss before I came in because these alkies are all drinking coffee and there's a long line to the single bathroom. So I looked around and I thought, well, shit, I'm all alone back here. It's a barn, there's planks there, but I can take a piss here and no one will notice. And then they called for Dan X, who I talked about before, the guy who was a city editor of the newspaper, and his wife was Katie Sue. She was there, the one who thought I was the reincarnation of Thomas Wolfe. So, I tried to avoid her. But they called for Dan to get up there and speak, and he, he's a big windbag, and I thought, oh, this is perfect. So I got behind a pole, I pull out my junk, and I start taking one of the best pisses of my life. It's pouring through the cracks down there, and Dan gets up there and he goes, he's getting his 3-year poker chip, and he says, to hell with me. What counts are the young people that are coming into AA, like my friend Steve, who's only 22. He goes, Steve, where are you? And, you're back there and you go, you asshole. And I zip up and
Did you finish?
he's going, Steve, oh no, I was right in the middle of it. He goes, Steve, where are you? And so I zip up and I come walking out like this. And, they're always talking about a higher power and AA, and I hadn't prayed in years, but I did then. I'm going, please, God, please don't let me hold it. And I couldn't, and it just ran down my leg. Ran down my leg, and the spotlight is on me, and there's this little kid down in the back. This little prick goes, hey, this guy's pissing his pants. And then there's some woman there, and they said, he's dead drunk. And the whole place went quiet. And then Katie Sue stands up and she goes, oh, Tom, what have you done now?